AITA for kicking my girlfriend out after I found out what she really meant by privacy? My girlfriend is learning that privacy works in both directions. When she asked for it, it was called healthy boundaries. When I practiced it, it was called abandonment without explanation. 2 weeks ago, she was giving lectures on Instagram about why couples should not share passwords. Today, she is discovering how it feels when your partner keeps the biggest secret of all from you, the fact that you are no longer a couple. Let me take you back to a Tuesday 3 weeks ago when this situation started. I am 32 years old. I work as an accountant at a manufacturing firm here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I earn around $55,000 a year. It is nothing spectacular, but it is enough to live a comfortable life. I was in a relationship with Danielle, who is 28, for almost 2 years. She works as a freelance graphic designer with flexible hours, always on her laptop or phone for client projects. We had been living together for 8 months in my apartment in the Ballantyne area. It is a 2-bedroom place in a nice neighborhood, close to shopping centers and parks. She had moved in gradually, first for a few days, then weeks, until one day she officially lived there. We never signed a formal sublease, but we split expenses. She paid for the electric bill, the high-speed internet, and the groceries. I covered the rent and the building maintenance fees. Everything seemed to be working well until she started with her new philosophy on privacy in a relationship. It all began on a Tuesday night. We were having dinner in the living room watching a series on Netflix when Danielle brought up the subject out of nowhere. She told me she had been thinking that we should be more independent with our digital lives. I asked her what she meant by that. She said we needed to be more independent with things like passwords. She pointed out that I knew the code to her phone and she knew mine, and she claimed that it was not healthy. I stayed quiet for a moment. I had never actually checked her phone, and she had not checked mine either as far as I knew. When I asked why it was unhealthy, she said it created a sense of dependency. She argued that healthy couples need their individual space and claimed that every psychologist agrees with this. I did not want to argue. If she wanted to change her password, it was her right. I told her to do whatever made her feel comfortable. That night, she changed the password for her phone, her laptop, her social media accounts, and everything else. The next day, she posted an image on Instagram with text that said, "A healthy relationship means having separate passwords for everything. Your partner does not need access to your digital life to trust you. Boundaries are love." The post got about 200 likes. Her friends commented things like, "Exactly, let's normalize privacy." I did not even leave a comment. I thought it was just one of those social media phases where people want to seem modern and independent. I had no idea what was actually happening. In the following days, Danielle started acting differently. She had always used her phone normally in front of me, answering messages without hiding the screen. Now, she would flip the phone over every time a notification arrived. She would get up to answer calls in another room. She would laugh to herself while reading the screen, and when I asked what was funny, she said it was nothing, just work-related stuff. On Wednesday of that week, I got home from the office earlier than usual. She was in the bedroom with the door closed. I heard her speaking in a low voice, almost whispering. When I opened the door, she ended the call immediately. I asked who she was talking to, and she said it was a client she was explaining project changes to. When I asked why she was whispering, she claimed she was just focused. I did not press her, but something felt wrong. On Thursday, she asked me not to come home early on Friday because she was going to have an important video call with a new client. She said it was a big project and she needed the house to be quiet to make a good impression. She told me the call would last from about 4 to 7 in the evening. I thought a 3-hour video call was quite long, but she explained it was a full presentation for a very detail-oriented client. I said there was no problem. I stayed at a Starbucks near the office until 7:30. When I arrived home, Danielle had already showered and was dressed up in clothes that were definitely not for a standard work video call. She was wearing a nice dress, heels, and full makeup. When I asked how it went, she said it was very good and that she thought she would get the project. I mentioned she got really dressed up for a call, and she just said she wanted to look professional because first impressions count. I did not say anything else, but I started paying very close attention. On Monday of the following week, Danielle said she was going to have dinner with some friends, Kayla and Piper. She said she had not seen them in a long time. She told me they were going to a new restaurant downtown and that she would just call an Uber because she did not want to bother me. She also mentioned that they might go back to Kayla's place afterward and that she might stay over there since she could work from there the next morning. She left at 8 at night. She sent me a message at 11 saying she was fine and that she was staying at Kayla's. I did not hear from her again until Tuesday at 6 in the evening when she arrived back at the apartment. She told me the dinner was incredible and that she had a very productive day working from Kayla's house. Something did not add up, but I had no proof. On Wednesday, I did something I had never done before. I checked the Uber history from my account because we had a shared family profile. While we each paid for our own trips, the primary account holder could see the general history. The trip from Monday night did not end at any house in the Ballantine neighborhood where Kayla supposedly lived. It ended at a high-end hotel downtown at 9 at night. There was no return trip recorded that night. The Tuesday trip left the same hotel at 5 in the evening and came straight to our apartment. Danielle had not slept at a friend's house. She had spent the night at a hotel. I stared at the screen for about 10 minutes without moving. My mind tried to find a logical explanation, like maybe the driver went to the wrong address, but people do not go to hotels by accident. You go to a hotel because you want to be at a hotel. I needed to be sure before I took any action. On Thursday afternoon, while Danielle was showering, her laptop was left open on the dining table. Usually, it was locked with a password as part of her new privacy philosophy, but this time she had forgotten. I am not proud of what I did, but I do not regret it either. I opened her email. I did not have to look very far. The second message in the inbox was a reservation confirmation for that downtown hotel for one night, from Monday to Tuesday. The room was for 2 people and was paid for with a card belonging to someone named Elliot Franklin. I searched for that name on her desktop messaging app, which was also open. I found the conversation almost immediately. He was saved as Client E. I opened the chat and the first things I saw were photos of Danielle that I had never seen before, photos that were certainly not for any professional client. The conversations were very clear. They had met 3 months ago at a networking event for freelancers. They started connecting professionally and then moved into a personal relationship. The hotel stay on Monday was not the first time they had met. There were messages from 2 weeks ago where Danielle wrote that I was starting to ask questions and that they had to be more careful. Elliot asked if she wanted to stop, and Danielle replied that they just had to be discreet. She told him she had already changed all her passwords and that I had no access to anything. Elliot told her he loved that about her and that she knew how to handle things. There it was. The reason for her privacy philosophy was not about healthy boundaries. It was about hiding the fact that she was seeing someone else. I took photos of everything with my phone, screenshots of the conversations, the hotel reservation, and the photos she had sent him. I saved everything in a secure cloud folder. When Danielle came out of the bathroom, I was sitting on the couch watching television as if nothing had happened. She asked if everything was okay, and I told her everything was calm. That night, I slept by her side feeling like I was sleeping next to a complete stranger, but I needed time to organize my next steps. I was not going to act impulsively. If she wanted privacy, I was going to give her all the privacy she could handle. On Friday, I took a personal day off from work. I told Danielle I had a training session outside the office. In reality, I spent the day organizing the end of our relationship. First, I went to a Home Depot and bought several large moving boxes. While Danielle was supposedly working at a cafe, I packed every single thing that belonged to her. Her clothes, shoes, makeup, bathroom products, her hair dryer, and all her personal decor. I left everything neatly packed in the living room. Then I called a locksmith and had the locks on the front door changed. It cost me $150, but it was worth every cent. Finally, I removed her from the shared Uber plan and separated our streaming accounts like Netflix and Spotify. Everything we shared digitally, I disconnected. When Danielle arrived that night, I was not there. I sent her a message at 9 informing her that I was going to stay at my brother's house and that we would talk tomorrow. She asked if something happened, and I told her I just needed space to think. When she asked what I needed to think about, I told her it was just things, and that, as she said, privacy is healthy. She did not respond to that. On Saturday at 10 in the morning, I arrived at the apartment. Danielle was sitting on the couch next to the boxes of her things with a look of total confusion. She asked what all the boxes were, and I told her they were her things. She asked why they were packed and why I was leaving. I told her I was not leaving, but that I was normalizing healthy boundaries in our relationship by giving her her own space and me mine. She called it crazy and asked what was wrong with me. I asked if she wanted the short version or the long version. She told me to explain what was going on. I gave her the short version. I told her I knew about the hotel stay, and I knew who Elliot Franklin was. I told her I knew everything. Her face turned white, and she stayed quiet for about 30 seconds. Her first question was how I found out. I told her it was interesting that her first thought was how she got caught rather than explaining the betrayal. She tried to say it was not what it looked like, but I told her that I had normalized checking things without permission, just like she had normalized hiding an entire relationship from me. She argued that it was not the same because I had invaded her privacy. I could not help but laugh. I pointed out that she had been unfaithful for 3 months and had stayed in a hotel with another man less than a week ago, yet her main complaint was about her privacy. She told me that did not give me the right to check her things. I agreed that it did not give me the right, but she did not have the right to lie to me every day either, so I considered us even. She started to cry, but those tears did not move me anymore. She called it a mistake and claimed Elliot meant nothing. I asked her why she would risk everything for someone who meant nothing. She claimed she was confused and felt stuck in our relationship, but I pointed out she never mentioned that to me, though she seemed very capable of sending photos and booking hotels with him. She claimed it was a mistake, but I told her a mistake is a small accident. This was 3 months of conscious decisions, planned lies, and changing passwords specifically to hide her actions from me. She promised she could change and asked for a chance, but I told her I was not interested. I told her she had 2 years of chances, and she chose to use them to build something with someone else behind my back. She asked if it was just over like that, and I told her it was. I informed her that her things were packed, her key no longer worked, and her access to the shared services was canceled. I told her she could call her mother or her friends to help her move the boxes. She told me I could not do this to her, but I reminded her that the apartment and the lease were in my name only. Legally, she was a guest whose invitation had been rescinded, and all her belongings were safe in boxes. I told her I had photos of everything before I packed it, so I could prove nothing was missing. Danielle called her mother, and an hour later, a truck arrived. They loaded the boxes in silence while she looked at me with deep resentment. As soon as the truck left, I blocked her number. On Sunday, I started getting messages from unknown numbers, which I assumed were her friends. They called me names and said she deserved better. It was interesting that none of them mentioned the hotel or Elliot. Danielle had clearly told them an edited version of the story where I was the unstable boyfriend who kicked her out for no reason. On Monday, Danielle posted a photo on Instagram from her childhood bedroom at her mom's house. The caption said that sometimes life forces you to start from scratch, but the best stories start that way. She got hundreds of supportive comments telling her she was strong. On Tuesday, a mutual friend named Sabrina contacted me to ask what happened. She said Danielle was telling everyone I went crazy and kicked her out overnight. I asked if Danielle mentioned why it happened, and Sabrina said she claimed not to know. I sent Sabrina 3 screenshots: the hotel reservation in Elliot's name, the message where Danielle said I was asking questions, and the message where Elliot praised her for handling things. Sabrina did not respond for 15 minutes, and then she simply said she had no idea. I told her Danielle was controlling the narrative and that she could share the truth with the others if she wanted. By Wednesday, the friend group had split. Some still supported her, but others stopped interacting with her, and one even asked her directly about Elliot. Danielle did not respond publicly, but she set her Instagram to private that day. It has been 3 weeks since she left. Life is much calmer now. From what I hear, her situation has not improved much. She is still living with her mother in a small town in the suburbs. Her freelance work is not bringing in enough for her to afford her own place in Charlotte yet. It turns out she needed the stability I provided more than she was willing to admit. Her relationship with Elliot Franklin lasted exactly 1 week after she lost her home. Once he realized she needed actual support, help moving, and a place to stay, he disappeared. He was happy to be the secret interest, but he did not want the responsibilities of a real partner. Danielle tried to contact me twice more. Once was a long message from her mother's phone saying she had reflected on her mistake and wanted to try again. I did not respond. The second time was in person when she waited outside my office. She asked for 5 minutes to talk, but I told her there was nothing left to say. She admitted she messed up, but claimed what we had was real. I told her, Adrian, there is nothing to talk about. I told her only part of it was real, while the other part was a lie, and I could not live my life wondering which was which. She promised to be different, but I told her I no longer trusted her, and I was not interested. I got in my car and went home. The apartment feels bigger and quieter now, but it feels like it belongs to me again. I do not have to wonder if the person I am living with is being honest. I started dating someone new about 2 weeks ago named Renee. She is a lawyer and has her own place downtown. When I mentioned the topic of passwords, she told me that if she ever felt the need to hide something from you, she probably should not be with you in the first place. It really should be that simple. The lesson here is clear. When someone suddenly demands excessive privacy without a good reason, they are likely trying to hide something. Danielle used the idea of healthy boundaries to cover up a betrayal. When I used that same logic to end the relationship, those boundaries were no longer acceptable to her. Sometimes the best way to respond to someone who hides the truth is to make sure they have to face the consequences of those secrets. Comment: I really hope this perspective helps you see that your peace of mind is always worth protecting. Choosing yourself when trust is broken isn't an act of malice, but a necessary step towards self-preservation. I believe boundaries should be used to build safety within a relationship, not to build walls that hide a double life. We all deserve a partner who values honesty as much as we do and takes full responsibility for their choices. Healing begins the moment you decide you no longer have to settle for a love that leaves you questioning your intuition. Remember that being a kind person doesn't mean allowing others to take advantage of your heart or your home. There's a unique kind of freedom that comes with letting go of the chaos and choosing a quiet, honest life. Trust that better things are waiting for you once you clear the path of what no longer serves you. Take a moment today to reflect on your worth and never feel guilty for walking away from what isn't right. I'm so glad you're here with me on this journey of learning and growing together. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.